With Donald Trump becoming the nation's 47th president, the official inauguration ceremony is complete.
Joining us is WIFR's Washington correspondent Brendan Cullerton, who's covering the ceremony for us from our nation's capital. And Brendan, what was President Trump's main message today?
Mike and Anna Marie, this was a very nationalist message from Donald Trump talking about this idea of American excellence. And he said he's going to bring the country back from the Biden administration, which he really disparaged today. He said he was going to do it with America First policies, whether it be America First on foreign policy, monetary policy, or policy at the border. He also talked about some of his perceived slights from the Department of Justice, saying he's going to end the weaponization of the federal government.
Well, the ceremony was moved indoors because of the cold temperatures. How did that change the event?
Well, normally you're going to see hundreds of thousands of people lining the National Mall while this ceremony takes place outside. Most of that did not happen today. This was moved inside the Capitol Rotunda, where they tried their best to squeeze about 600 people in there. Normally there would be a parade from the U.S. Capitol to the White House. That was mostly moved inside Capital One Arena, which had a little bit of a ceremony of its own following the inauguration.
So what was the viewing experience like for some of those who traveled to D.C. expecting to see an outdoor ceremony but didn't get one?
Well, not everyone got anything at all, because Capital One Arena, which is, where the Washington Wizards, Washington Capitals play, it holds about 20,000 people. There were way more people than that signed up for this inauguration, so some of them got to go inside the arena and watch this on a jumbotron. They also got to see what ended up being sort of a concert, an abridged portion of this parade, and then they got to see President Donald Trump come in, give some remarks, and sign a bunch of executive orders.
Well, Trump has promised to move quickly during his first 100 days in office. What can we expect from his second term?
Well, he campaigned on a few key items. He campaigned on a return to fossil fuels. He campaigned on increasing border security and cutting government costs. And he views this election as a mandate. So he says he's going to do all of those things, starting with these executive orders. He also says he's going to work very quickly with Congress. A lot of people think, Republicans think they moved too slow during Trump's first term. They want to correct that this time around.
One final question for you, Brendan. So Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden have now left the White House. What's next for them?
Well, I would imagine this is the end of the political career for Joe Biden after he pardoned several of his family members on the way out. Who knows for Kamala Harris? There was a while where it seemed where being the vice president was not good for someone's political history. But, Joe Biden was vice president, became president eventually, so maybe that's an old term.
Well, thank you so much, Brendan, for taking the time, and have a good time there in Washington. And Trump is also the oldest president in history to be inaugurated. Vice President J.D. Vance is actually the third youngest VP in our nation's history.